first new transit in February starts on Saturday, February 3rd, as the Sun moves into the gate 13 and the Earth moves into the gate 7. Now, both of these gates are on the G center, and both of them are collective circuitry. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the Sun is lighting up the gate 13, which is known as the listener in traditional human design, or narrative in quantum human design. And as I said, it's on the G center, and this one is in the sensing circuit. So sensing circuit is right-brained energy, it's creative, it's experiential, it's embodied, and it has a strong storytelling element. 3 of the gates in the sensing circuit are storytelling gates, and that's all the storytelling gates in the chart. So the 13, when I talk to people who have this lit up in their natal chart, I will sometimes say to them, do people like to tell you their stories, or do people like to come and confess to you sometimes? And a lot of times they're like, yeah, they do. I say, yeah, that people want to come and tell you the thing that they're longing to tell somebody, but they've never told anybody else. So this is that kind of energy. And you may be finding that people want to tell you their stories. You may find that you want to tell other people your story. And it could be something that's really quite personal. Even though this is collective circuitry, telling our inner stories, right? And because it's on the G center. So because it's on the G center, this is the center for love and lovability, identity, and direction. So the stories that come from the 13 oftentimes are, really close to the heart, right? Because they come from that G center. They're close to the heart. They have to do with how we understand who we are. And so there can be some vulnerability around these stories. There can be the sense of being exposed on occasion, which is why somebody might feel like they want to confess to you, and they don't want to tell everybody, but they do want to tell somebody. So notice if that's what kind of arises for you during this transit, or if other people are coming to you with this. And one of the most empowering things you can do with the energy of this gate is to consider, what stories am I telling about myself? Or how are other people telling you stories about themselves? And is that story beneficial to you, right? Or is an upgrade called for, right? Would you benefit from an upgrade? Because sometimes the stories that we've told about ourselves are actually really detrimental, right? If we continue to tell stories, for example, about how we're not good enough, or we're not worthy, or, we're not smart enough, or not pretty enough, or whatever the things is that we took in as young people, and we keep living inside that story. And sometimes we have experiences in our lives that seem to show that it's true, right? But as we mature and as we gain perspective, we can look back at these stories we've been living inside of and go, well, is that really serving me, right? Is it true that I'm not worthy? Or is it true that I wasn't smart enough? Or actually was this other person just, projecting some of their energy and some of their issues onto me? Maybe that teacher that told me something at some point in my life was having a bad day. Or maybe they were activated about something else that had nothing to do with me. So this is an opportunity also to take another look at those stories from the past and upgrade them so that they're more useful for you. Narrative is a wonderful way for us to kind of process and recreate stories that we've been living inside of so that they're more useful for us as today. So then the Sun is going to be resting on the gate 7. The gate 7 is also on the G center, but it's in the logic circuit. And so it is left brain energy. It's more analytical. It's more strategic. It's more focused. And it's very beneficial. There's nothing wrong with logical energy. It's just that we tend to learn in our culture that it is the only way of really knowing things or knowing what's actually true, which is a very limited understanding and not actually accurate. So we want to be able to use our left brain energy. We just want to be able to use it in balance with all of the other energies. And so you may feel during this transit a little bit of tension between the Sun and the gate 13, which is right brain energy, and then the Earth in the gate 7, which is left-brained energy. Now, ideally, what you're going to do is you're going to draw on the strengths of both, and you're going to ask them to really connect with each other and honor each other. Because of that conditioning around left brain dominance, sometimes the left brain stuff can kind of beat up on and want to reject the right brain stuff as if it were not as important, or as if it were not as true, or not as reliable. So you just kind of want to watch out for that, since we do have those two different types of energies lit up during this transit. So the 7 is known as like the chief of staff. That was the way I first learned it in traditional human design, or collaboration in quantum human design. And I love it being called collaboration because it's all about how are we evolving leadership. Its mate is the 31, which is known as the leader or democracy. And so this is the leadership of the collective circuitry that's being expressed here through what in traditional human design is known as the channel of the alpha. And we're really evolving that into more of a collaborative, democratic way of operating, where we want to make sure that our collaborations are mutually beneficial. This is so important that in my book on feminine sovereignty, pillar number 7 is mutually beneficial collaborations, because this is what we're evolving into. As you know, Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and we are moving into the time of community. And a big part of our ability to really be in community in ways that work for everyone is our ability to work together and to collaborate, and to not be just looking at what is in it for me, but what is good for the collective. And of course, this is collective energy. So if we think about this, we can be looking at, what are the mutually beneficial ways that we can operate in life, and how can that provide us with a way of grounding ourselves during this transit, so that as we tell stories about ourselves, or we hear stories from other people about themselves, we're looking for how can that really be mutually beneficial, specifically for that person to begin with, but really for everyone, because we're here during a time when it's important for us to be revising our stories so that they are more meaningful for the present. And this is key for our ability to really work with each other, because we need to be breaking down these stories of isolation, of separation, that I have to compete with you, and that is the way that the world goes, right? But it's actually not the case. So you're going to have the opportunity during this first transit to be looking at, how can I understand my own story? How can I understand the stories of others in a way that makes it easier and more beneficial for us to work together?